YouTube. I have been trying to make a video for like 3 days now. I was supposed to make it Thursday, but then I was making the video and then my mama called and interrupted. And then Friday I had treatment, so I didn't feel like making a video. And today I was like, well, I got a little time before I leave and go anywhere, so let's just make a quick video. So I decided to just tell you guys about myself and my illness. Well, a little bit of it, because it is a long story. Imagine being sick from the age of 15 to 24. It's a long story, and things has happened throughout that time period, so it's a long story. So I just tell you guys a little, and then I guess I'll make like a part 2 and tell you the rest. So here we go. Okay. As you guys know, my name is Anquishe, but my friends and my family call me Shay. I'm 24. My birthday is in April. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. Currently not working. I'm getting ready to start school. To be a nurse. Since I've been sick, I've been thinking about being a nurse, and I said I was gonna go to school and do something in the nursing field. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So I said, okay, let's just stop putting on hold and just go ahead and do it, because seems like stuff is gonna happen regardless, and I might as well just go to school. So at the age of 15, I was going for normal checkups, and my blood pressure was really high. So the lady had called my doctor. She called my mom and she said, hey, you guys need to go to the hospital like now. Me being young, I didn't know what was going on, stuff like that. So we went to the doctor. They ran a lot of tests, and my doctor had told them that my blood pressure was really high, and I can't tell you how high it was, but it was too high for me to only be 15. So they was like, okay, you're going into kidney failure. And so I think I had got sad about it. I really can't remember. I'm sure I had got sad about it, but I do remember them showing me what I would have to go through, which is dialysis. And at the time, I was going to Children's Hospital to dialyze, because when you're small until you turn 18, you have to go to Children's. So I was at Children's. I had a surgery to have a perm cath put in, and a perm cath is just something temporary until they either give you a fistula or a graft. So I had the perm cath, and they took me to see what dialysis would be like. And I remember just crying, because there was this baby, and he was just so little, and I was sad because he was a baby and he was just so little and cute. And I know everybody go through stuff no matter how old you are, but I just felt like a baby shouldn't even be going through this kind of stuff. But he was hooked up to the machine, and I just got sad. So I started dialyzing, and I made friends. And at the time, my mom, all the parents would be like in the waiting room. Like, you had this waiting room, and then you would go through this door, and then like the dialysis would be back there. So all the parents of the children that was on dialysis, they'll be in the waiting room. So our parents came close. The kids, us as the kids, we became close, and still to this day we talk. Some of them have transplants and is doing well. Some of them are not. I don't know. But I don't know. Me, I was on dialysis for a year. I was on dialysis for a year. I ended up getting a transplant because my auntie, she used to talk on and on to her coworkers about my situation. And, well, to her coworkers, to her friends, to just everybody. So, she, this, lady, her daughter died in a car accident. And, because my auntie had been talking to her, see, at first I didn't know who she was. And, I really didn't know the girl either. But, she died in a car accident, and this was December the 30th because we were out bowling for my mom's birthday. And she UAB called and said that they had a kidney for me. Could I get to the hospital by 12 o'clock? Because you have a certain time to get there, really, or they're going to give it to somebody else. So I had to get there by 12 o'clock. So we was like, okay, let's go to the family house and thank them. And I was happy, but I was sad at the same time because, you know, her daughter had died, and, you know, that had to been hard. So I was crying, and my uncle was like, you got to toughen up. They just lost their daughter. So, you know, just kind of stop crying for a little bit. So on the drive there, I was trying to, like, toughen up to stop crying because I'm a crybaby. I really am. I'm a crybaby. But we went there, we thanked them, and we headed to Children's. And I think I had the surgery the next morning. They just prepped me the night before, and then I had the surgery the next day. So after my surgery, it was my mom's birthday. By that time, it was already about to be my mom's birthday because it was 12 o'clock. So my mom was like, you know, this is the best birthday present. Because I was like, Mama, I remember saying that. I was like, Mama, I'm sorry you have to spend your birthday in the hospital with me. And she was like, it's okay, baby. I'd rather be here than anywhere else. So my family, everybody came to the hospital. Now, when I got my kidney, the first one, it wasn't working the way it was supposed to, so I had to be on dialysis for a little bit longer so that it would function right. So I can't even tell you how long I was on dialysis, but I had to be on it for a little while. And then when my kidney functioned, my creatinine started to come to a normal range, a good range, I stopped doing dialysis. And you have to take like a lot of medicine, like steroids and anti-rejection medicines and my blood pressure was still high, so I had to take blood pressure medicine, steroids, rejection medicines, and other, you know, medicines. It was a lot of medicines because when you get a transplant, you have to take a lot of medicine. But it was so worth it. Like, I kid y'all not, I would walk around, like when I got home, I was like, Mama, I feel like it's about to fall out my stomach. And she was like, it's not going to fall out your stomach. She was like, just stop. She was like, it's not going to fall out your stomach. It's okay. So as time went by and they had me on a very high dose of steroids. So my face began to get fat. It was like, my mom used to call me a chipmunk. And she would take pictures of me because she thought it was so funny that I looked like a chipmunk. And I didn't think it was funny, but when I look back at it, it was kind of funny. It was kind of cute. But they would taper you down on the steroids because the more stronger you got and the strength you got, they drop your steroids. You wouldn't have to take such a high dose. So everything was going good, and I started when you get a transplant, they say it's just like having a baby. You have to be out of school and work for like, I think a month or 2 or 3. I forgot. But I was out of school for a while, but I think I was homeschooled. I think I would go up to the school, get my work, come back home and do it, and then just take it back up there. Either way, I got my work did. And when I didn't have my transplant, I was never in school because I had dialysis 3 days out the week, and I did not feel good after dialysis, so I wouldn't go to school. I would only go to school 2 days out the week. So when I did get my transplant, I tried to stay on top of everything and do my work and just try to stay focused and, try to make good grades and, just stay focused. And I would make sure I turned my work in, got my work, and then finally I did go back to school. But then it still wasn't so great because for some reason I kept getting sick. Like I was always in the hospital. I don't know what I was getting sick with. But when you get a transplant, they tell you like that first month to kind of like when you go out in the open to wear a mask because your immune system is like really weak. So anything like if a person with a cold came near you would get it just like that because your system is just weak and anything you come intact with you could get basically a cold, the flu, pneumonia, anything. So I just kept getting sick and I was going to the doctor because when you get a transplant you have to go to doctor's appointments. It goes from once a week to twice a week to every 2 months to every 3 months to every once a year, stuff like that. So I was going to doctor's appointment. Doctor's appointment was going well, and then around the time when I was getting ready to graduate high school, I had started to get sick all the time. I was always in the hospital, so I was missing school and another bad thing. So one day I was at home and I just wasn't feeling good and I think I was throwing up and I had a temperature of 103. I've never had a temperature so high. So I had to go to Children's and they was like, okay, your kidney is rejecting you. And because it's making you so sick, we're just going to take it out. And I didn't want them to take it out because the person that I got the kidney from I had came very close with her mom and, her friends. And I was sad in like a lot of ways. I was sad because now I have to go through all this stuff again and I'm losing this and like I was just really sad. So they took it out, got back on dialysis, needed another kidney transplant. And by that time I was 18, so all the like good stuff I was getting, like when I was going to Children's, we had like this thing, Make-A-Wish thing, where you could make a wish and you could get whatever you wanted. And me, I went in a Sweet 16 party. And I think I had my transplant thing in. I think. So I had a Sweet 16 party. They paid for everything. But if you guys want to know about that, you can comment and I'll tell you about it. But, so with my second transplant, it did good. I didn't have to go on dialysis. Now, after I lost my first transplant, I got back on dialysis for like maybe 2 years, maybe a year and a half, because I did dialysis at a center. And then they kept trying to put in my head, you're young, do PD, which is dialysis at home, where you do it yourself for 8 hours at night. And when I was younger, like 15, they had told me about it, but I was like, no, I'm 15, I'm gonna mess up, I'm not gonna do it right. And they was like, well, we train you, and we make sure that you got it before we send you home. So I was like, no, I don't want to do it. So I didn't do it when I was like 15, 16. But by the time I was 18, I was like, okay, because I did not graduate from school. I mean, I graduated, but I didn't get a high school diploma, and I really wanted to go to college and for nursing, and I felt like I needed a diploma, which is not true. I did not know that at the time. But I got on PD and I loved it because I wasn't feeling bad, because with the difference between doing the treatment at home and doing it in the center you go 3 days out the week. And with at home you do it every night, so you don't have like the chance to feel bad. You do it longer. When you do it at a center, you want to do it for like some people do 3 hours, some people do 3.5, some people do 4 hours. So At home, you would have to do it for 8 hours, but you do it at night while you're asleep, and then you get up in the morning and go about your day. And that's what I loved about it. I did it. I went back to school. I tried to get my GED, but that didn't work. So I went to this program, and I ended up getting a high school diploma. So I actually graduated in 2013 and 2016. Like, I have 2 set of cap and gowns. But so after that, I was happy, but then I caught an infection in the tube that I had in my stomach. And so lucky, in that week of when I was in the hospital from catching an infection, I got my kidney transplant. I got another kidney transplant. So at first I wasn't going to get it. Another guy was going to get it, but something had happened with him to the point where he couldn't get it, because they had came in. They was like, you're gonna get your kidney. So, I'm excited. And then they came back in. They was like, okay, you can't get it. The guy down the hall is actually gonna get it. So they was like, you can go home if you want to. And I was like, I was sad, but then I was also like, well, we might as well stay here, and you could just discharge me in the morning, because I was already hooked up to my machine and stuff like that. So I was like, I'll just go home in the morning. The next morning, she came in and said, I guess it's good you stayed overnight, because you get to get your transplant. And I was so happy. So with this transplant, it went good. I didn't have to be on dialysis. Everything was good. And then the only thing that went bad with this one is I caught pneumonia the day I was about to get out the hospital. That's the only bad thing that had happened. I don't know how I catch pneumonia in the hospital, but I did. I was laying in the bed, and I was like, I couldn't breathe. Like, I could breathe, but it was like hard to breathe. So I was like calling the nurse, and I was telling her, I was like, I can't breathe. So they was like, okay, you got pneumonia. I'm laughing because when I had pneumonia, I had to get sent to one of those rooms, floors, ICU, whatever it is. Okay, y'all know what I'm trying to say. So they told me what they was gonna do before they did. They had to put a tube down my throat. They put me to sleep to do it. But when I woke up, I was tied down to the bed. I didn't panic. Thank you, Jesus. I didn't panic. I was calm. But I think they were pretty happy that they tied me up, because I tried to pull the tube out my mouth. And I actually did, but I didn't pull the actual tube. I pulled it was like, this is the tube, and then it was like something under the tube. So I pulled that part, and they had to put it back. But it was funny, but it wasn't funny. But that was really scary for me. I've had a lot of scary moments, but that was really scary for me. For one, I'm woke and it's a tube in my mouth. And then because I had pneumonia, I had cold in my throat, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't, you know how we would cough and get cold up? No, they had to come in and like suction it out my mouth, and then I felt like I couldn't breathe while they was doing it. So that was scary. And then they had me tied down to the bed. I was so ready for that to be over, and I couldn't talk, so I had to have like they had to give me a dry eraser board, and I had to write everything I wanted to say. And my mom and my best friend was there, so if I wanted to say anything to them, I had to write it on the board. That was scary. But then finally I went home, and yeah, my transplant, it was good for a year. And then one day I was just not feeling good, and I had a doctor's appointment that day, and when I went to my doctor's appointment, he told me that my kidney was trying to fail on me. So I had lost another kidney. So yeah, I think that's about it for this video. There's actually more stuff that has happened. Like between like what has happened since I've lost my kidney transplant, but I'll make another video on that another time. But that's, and if you guys are wondering if anybody in my family, because that's what doctors ask you when you come in with something like that, like do anybody in your family has it? Nobody in my family has kidney failure. I am the only one with it. So yeah, but that's it, and I will make another video on how having 2 transplants, and now I'm waiting on the 3rd one, and I will tell you guys other stuff that has happened since I've lost this 2nd kidney. But if you guys have questions, you can write them in the comments, and I promise I'll answer them. Okay, bye.